G'day everyone, and welcome back to another week of Sound Design for New Media, DESC 9117. This week we are going to be looking at a few different topics, and the first one at hand is Sonic Interaction Design. What is it, and why are we learning about it? Let's dive right in. So, what will you know by the end of this video? You will be able to define what interaction design is and how it can be used as a design framework for sound design in particular. So, interaction design and sound in products in general, how those two things relate. In digital products, sound has predominantly been used to accompany screen-based interactions, and there is two kind of names for this, broadly understood in the literature. They have pretty funny names. Earcons, as in icons, but for your ears. And auditory icons. I prefer the latter. It sounds a little less cheesy, but both of these terms describe effectively the kinds of sounds that we're used to hearing from our phones. So abstract sounds that accompany different computer events and everyday sounds associated with interactions on the computer desktop. Examples of these two: obviously, the notification sounds that you hear on your iPhone or your Android device. Auditory icons, things like the garbage, the crunched up paper sound that you hear when you drop something in your trash bin. These kinds of auditory prompts, which have some kind of association with the real world. So they might have something like a sonic metaphor. They might actually be a metaphor for something that it actually really happens in the world. In the visual domain, we might call this skeuomorphic, as in it relates to the physical design of something, but is in a digital interface. In the sound-based arena, we call them sonic metaphors. So a metaphorical representation of something happening in the real world. And these are the two predominant ways of thinking about them: earcons and auditory icons. Okay, but some of you might know that if you've heard the term interaction design, it's a lot bigger than sound, right? In fact, if you think about interaction design, you might be thinking about screen-based design. So I want to set the record straight. Interaction design is not about screen-based design. It's about interactions with technologies. It's about designing interactions with technologies. And some might even go beyond technologies to say it's about designing interactions with artifacts and objects. So we can be even more abstract about it if we like. But this model of research through design I find really compelling when defining interaction design. So this is obviously given the context of interaction design research. But I think it's a useful diagram for us to unpack a little bit. So there's three tranches of kind of ways of thinking about the world, right? We might call these phenomenologies. These are ways of seeing the world. And they answer different questions in different ways. So first of all, engineering. Engineering in this model answers the how. How do you do something? It answers with rigor and integrity the questions about how to actually produce a new technology or a new design. And then we have anthropologists who produce and observe research and field data about the real world, about what actually happens out there in the wild. And these are people who are doing observational kind of studies, people who are looking at the way that people act out there with engineered or designed objects. And then we have the true behavioral scientists who are focused on using science as a way to build the truth and actually see into the way that people act with and around technologies using scientific methodologies. And these three different ways of looking at the world, these three phenomenologies, they combine together to be what an interaction designer is interested in. And so interaction designers aren't expert engineers, they aren't expert anthropologists, they aren't expert behavioral scientists, though I can think of interaction designers who are each of those things. They are people who think about the different ways that people can actually experience the world with technologies, and they combine those different ways of thinking together to produce the right. And that is to say, they think about what the right solution to any given design problem is. And to do that, they need to synthesize information across multiple domains. So Interaction design, you look it up online, it's got some silly diagram about how it's related to user experience design or something like that. I think this diagram is much, much more interesting and compelling. Interaction design is about taking different ways of looking at an object, different kinds of knowledge, and combining them together to produce the right kind of solution for interacting with a technology. That's a quick summary of what interaction design is from my perspective. And I would love to get into a dialogue with you about what you think interaction design is as well. Okay, so sound interaction design. What's our definition that we'll use in this class? How can we together have a mutual and shared understanding of what sound interaction design is? I think we can simply summarize it as this. Sound interaction design is the design of sonic behaviors in technologies as experienced by their users. I think this is a simple definition that we can continue to unpack and have a dialogue about. But this week I encourage you to talk to your tutors and enter into a discussion with others about how you see interaction design fitting into sound design itself. All right, thanks. See you.